Awesome. All right. Welcome back, team, to the next episode of Retention Chronicles. We've got a unique episode today with Adam Robinson. Wow. Founder and CEO of retention.com. So what's unique about this, Adam, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with the pod. We normally have like really tenured partners on the podcast to talk about what makes them unique in this ecosystem, talk about like our partnership joint value props and some merchants that we've worked with in the past. This is unique in that right now, as far as I know, and I should know, we're not doing much, if anything at all, with retention.com. So I thought it'd be really cool, not only to learn about retention more through you, obviously to have you on. This podcast is Retention Chronicles, so it's a natural fit. But maybe we even riff on some like potential joint value props and combined use cases that our two solutions could bring together. And I'll walk you through that. So don't feel pressure. But yeah, what do you think?
I think that's a great idea.
Love it. Okay, cool. So we take a bit of a unique approach to these, at least in the intro. Before we get into all of those things that I just talked about, we like to start on the personal side and ask you one or two things that you're excited about in your personal life.
Yeah. So in my personal life, I had my first child 6 months ago.
That's kind of a big deal. Yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's certainly a big one. And I'm just generally, I lived in Manhattan for a long time, and I moved to Austin, Texas, and beat the COVID rush. I moved in May of 2019. And I'm really just excited about, raising a family in this neighborhood that I live in around the people that I am around.
Very cool.
Because it's like a large contrast to the life that I had living in Tribeca.
Yeah.
everything just seems so much more difficult in New York. So yeah, it's absorbing a lot of my personal life bandwidth right now.
I would imagine.
I'm not sure that there would be much else to say other than that.
You kind of have two babies, retention.com and
your
actual baby.
Yeah. And so like there's the professional side of having a business, but then there's also how it impacts your personal life. And man, so I had my kid in August, and then in September we decided we were going to go from really amazing bootstrapped lifestyle business to unicorn startup.
Gotcha.
And we hired 42 people in 6 weeks.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
And it's like working. So like, and it's interesting because before that decision, I didn't even know that it was like a possibility, Sure. And then a bunch of stuff just like fell into place, and it was like, these big Shopify stores are really killing it with our existing product. And then we added this other feature set to it, and it's like, wow, they're like doing even better with that. It's like, man, like maybe I should buy like a huge domain, since we're doing more than just getting people emails. The company was called Get Emails. So bought this domain, and then like found this like COO who's like this kind of company, like rapid growth hyperscaler. He did Zoom Info and Apollo.io.
Wow.
And a few other B2B data companies. And yeah, I mean, we just started slamming our foot to the gas like crazy. And like, it's this interesting thing in life where like, if your prospects are improving, if your view of the future is like sort of steadily climbing,
sure,
that's a very exciting time to live during your life. The opposite is true when your view of the future is steadily declining. That's like kind of a malaise period of your life. Like that season's coming. I don't know when it is, but like for the last 4 months or so, like the kid showed up, and then it was like, okay, this is a good lifestyle business. This could be like a unicorn in 5 years. And it's like, holy shit, this could be a unicorn in 1 year. Like, oh my, this could be the best business ever. It's like, this could, it's like sort of internalizing all of that, like it's just, I've never had more fun doing anything. You know, it's giving the personal part of this is like, it's giving so much energy to the rest of my life that, you know, it's just, I want to preserve it as long as possible. So really, I would say the personal things that have been going on with me are like, one, having a kid, and then B, this business changing like so rapidly, so quickly at exactly the same time. You know, that's what's going on with me.
a couple things that are, you know, kind of a big deal. Awesome. Thanks for the update. Obviously want to dive a lot more into the business. But yeah, we've had, I think Ari Murray from Sharma Brands also relocated New York to Austin and said very similar things about the city. Glad you're liking it.
I am taking Ari Murray on my boat this afternoon.
No way.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
I sponsor her newsletter and Daniel's podcast and like Sharma's newsletter. You know, I'm like doing all that shit. I love her. I think she's awesome. And like, I think she's like the next Nick Sharma, just like a few years behind.
Totally.
I'm like trying to make bets on her career and like do like community events with her and stuff, you know, ariandadamdinner.com or whatever.
Sure.
I really like her. She's just the best. So
yeah, I would kill for, you know, 10 basis points of her career.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what can I do to like align myself with this person?
Awesome. I'll tell her me and Mariah said hi.
I will.
We work very closely with them as well.
Yeah. We were saying we have to do something in person with her. So
Adam,
now you're on the list.
Yeah. There you go. Where are you guys located?
We're in Indianapolis.
Got it.
Most of our executive team's here, and then we have some people spread out across the country, but about half the company here in Indianapolis now.
Cool.
So yeah, would love to come to Austin. With that said, anytime.
Yeah, dude, bring it. I'm around.
Yeah, we don't have any water for a boat here.
Right. Yeah, that's like one of my favorite things about living here. It's really hard to get a boat slip on the lake that's closest to, but like I managed to just sort of manifest that through like speaking loudly about it in my social network. But it's crazy. I mean, it's like 10 minutes away from your house. You have like a boat that's like, you know, just lifted above the water. So like you show up, rip the cover off, drop it down, and like you're like doing the act of wake surfing within 20 minutes of leaving your house. And then it's like super easy to like put it all back away and drive home. It's just like I've been out there hundreds of times at this point. And it's like, every time I can't believe it. This is like, it's a real city where real people are doing real things. And there's this experience that like growing up, I lived in Connecticut, I had to go to Maine to do it or whatever, you know, it was just like so far. And like the idea of doing something like that, living in New York, it's just impossible to conceive, you know, like the amount of effort it would take to put yourself in an environment where something even like that was possible, right? Like, you know, you can like ride your bike down the West Side Highway with like 3,000 other people. Like that's an option, but it's like not really the same thing, you know?
Yeah. New York, I love, but love to visit, no desire to live. But
yeah,
glad you're like,
it's got its perks. It's got its downsides. It's just, I lasted way longer than I thought I was going to, but eventually I had to just like, you know, yank myself off stage or whatever. I'm like, dude, this is going the wrong way. Like, I don't want to get stuck in the next phase of my life here.
Sure.
So
glad it worked out. Tell us about, you know, your background pre-retention.com, and then bring us to that point, and then we'll dive into the current biz.
So I worked at Lehman Brothers, which is now defunct, depending on the generation of the listener. They may know what that is. I traded credit default swaps. They made it.
SVB.
Yeah, exactly. It's a recent iteration of the same thing. They let Lehman Brothers fail in a very messy way, which they kind of didn't with SVB. They kind of got in there like, oh, you can have your deposits and the equity's wiped out or whatever. They just I don't know. So, but I was trading credit default swaps, which like they made a movie about this, The Big Short, like
Awesome.
People who I worked with are like in that book. And the whole time I showed up in New York, and my friends who I was living with, they started Vimeo, the video sharing website, like in my apartment.
They were
so
in,
I like
you lived with them?
Yeah, literally.
Oh my
Like I'm still
God.
friends with the guy, Jake Lodwick. Look him up. Like I'm seeing him this afternoon. Like he just moved to Austin.
Is he also on the boat? Oh my God.
Yeah, so like he moved to Austin to start a startup with the Casper mattress guys. It's like some really interesting last mile delivery play where they're like going to try to like do Uber for people's garages that have extra storage space and just want to make a little extra money. So like they get a container dropped off, they'll have to package some shit, and then like somebody else will come by and like, I don't know. It's like there's stuff that people are going to need every day in the neighborhood, and like they think this is an efficient way to do it. I think that like guys that smart they will succeed, but it will be in something tangential to that. Like it's like your original idea with a lot of this stuff isn't how it pans out, you know? At least that's been my observation. Like my two businesses, like what ended up working was not what I thought it was in the beginning. This one also.
You'll be getting emails if, you know.
Yeah, well, but that was part of the journey, you know? And like the funny thing was I was really negative about get emails when we started it. I thought because it used third-party cookies to do identity. And literally when we started it 3.5 years ago, they were going away in 18 months. But I was like, whatever, like I have this other stuck business. I'll make a couple $1 million to like start something else. Like it's super marketable. But like I was really negative on the long-term viability of it. Then they kept kicking third-party cookies down the line. And we figured out how to do without third-party cookies. So like that was just this huge, like it literally is just like what, you know, I would like go to bed and be like, what the fuck am I doing wasting my time on this when like this is literally going away? And then the other funny thing was like it's hard to describe how stuck I was with this other business. I was like, I thought it wasn't compliant with can spam laws, but I was like, whatever, like this universe, but there had never been a significant can spam lawsuit. So who fucking cares, right? And I was like, these affiliate senders will do this. Like they don't care about can spam, right? They're sending non-opt-in email anyway. It's just a vehicle to like, you know, accelerate that. Turns out, A, it was can spam compliant. B, it didn't actually work for these affiliate guys at all for some reason. Like there's something about the way their business works where like what we do doesn't really work. And then, you know, 2.5 years later, we realized these big Shopify stores are the one that killed it. But anyway, so I wanted to be a tech entrepreneur when I was a Wall Street guy in this apartment. Somehow found my way to like starting an email marketing company that was like kind of competitive a little bit with mail. We were stealing customers from Constant Contact, like, you know, kind of like picking up breadcrumbs off of this massive table is the analogy. And that got to be like a decent lifestyle business. But like the problem is like that market is particularly hard to compete in. It's super mature. It's analogous, I think, to like trying to sell against Coke and Pepsi. Like you're just not going to sell cola, right? Like if you sign up for that, you are signing up for a very hard battle. So it got to a point where it was like good, but like slowly shrinking cash flow business. And no matter what I tried, I couldn't grow it because like MailChimp had a free product and they were bidding up every channel. And like, you know, they were moving faster than we are on the dev side. And they had this amazing integration ecosystem and this and that and whatever. And then Klaviyo came in and like, you know, owned the whole e-com, whatever, which is amazing that they were able to do that. So I was trying to do stuff that MailChimp wasn't doing. And I made a couple huge bets that were just wrong, like 2 years in a row, stuff that just didn't work. And then this identity resolution thing came along and I was like, wow, like I didn't know that was possible. But like, if you could resolve an anonymous website visitor to a deliverable email address, I just feel like I could sell that to anybody with a website, right? Like who doesn't, no, like who doesn't want that, right? Like, like, of course I want that, right? Like, and it's crazy. So like there were a few amazing things. One, I was like, how is that possible? It took me 18 months to figure out how it was possible.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
And then we started selling it. It was like, oh, let's call it Get Emails. That's like a short and descriptive name that like whatever. And then we, as many SaaSes start, self-serve, sign up, $19 a month, whatever. So we let everybody try it. And my suspicion going in was that the emails would be like half as engaged as a normal email, but the price would be like 10% of the price. And we could get like 20, 30, 35% sometimes, maybe even 40 of people's US web traffic, whereas a form was getting like 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, just the math will work with lower engagement emails that are lower quality. But the wild thing is they actually worked better than people's house list, if that makes sense. Like we would give them email addresses and that list would have a higher open rate than what they were currently sending.
Wow.
Doesn't make fucking sense, right? Like it's crazy.
Not at all, but I love that.
Yeah. It's like if you were telling me that, I would say that's impossible, but that's just the way it played out. And I think the reason why is because in email and marketing in general, it's like the hottest list is the best list. So it's like the intent is so high of someone being on your website and then sending them a one-off email 15 seconds later or whatever, right? Like that's what this was. So, you know, it started as a feature in the ESP. People were in the email app. People were signing up for it, using the identity part, downloading the file, putting it in their Klaviyo, and saying it was awesome.
Sure.
So that's like a good sign of product market fit when someone's like willing to endure a horrible user experience and still like it. So like spun it out, made it its own thing, sold my other lifestyle business to private equity for like an okay amount of money, like whatever it is, like $10 million or whatever. And then this was, you know, it was a self-serve app, and like we were letting anyone sign up, and it took us, the monthly user churn was always bad, and I thought it was just the nature of the product itself would just lend itself to high churn in the people that we were selling to. A couple of years in, and it's hard to figure this out because like you don't know how churn is until a few years in, right? Because like in month 6, churn looks great no matter who you are because no one's churned yet. In month 18, you have people, you know, the people churn from month 3, right? In month 18, you have people churning from 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, you know, it just stacks. And then we realized that even with that existing product, the get emails product, meaning just someone hits a website, we give an email address to whoever, like these big Shopify stores were crushing it so hard that they were just like sending us all of their friends and never churning, right? Whereas everybody else would be like, meh, like we always thought it'd be great for publishers. Can't get that going, or lives depend on it, right? Like B2B disaster, like anybody other than small Shopify stores, no, you know, but just like anyone who's on Shopify Plus or like has maybe 3 million GMV or above, 3 to 5 million does okay, 5 to 10 does better. Above 25 million, these guys absolutely crush it. Like no questions asked. And it's because
wild though that you're saying this, because we just came off an internal like full all hands where we talked about specifically what you just said about like how much stickier large merchants are than small merchants. And
dude, they are better businesses and they're better at everything they do and they have better products. So like, and I think another thing is if you're providing incremental to people in any way, which like most vendors are, when there's a larger amount of money there to just raise by 20%, you can just point it more and you don't increase your prices linearly. Like somebody we're making 400 grand a month for, we don't charge half, right? Like we charge 1/10.
It's not like the ROI has to be, you know, 10x. And we're going to charge you up for 10x. No, it's like your ROI can be 1,500, and we're just here.
Like Dr. Squash was on a stage at Grow LA with me saying he made 50x in the first 3 months, and I'm like, look, like that's not going to be for everybody because they're so big, but like he's not lying. You know, he did make 50x.
It's true for them.
Please listen to that. Right. Like you all want to be this guy. So like, you should use my product. Like you'll make money, just maybe not that much. And so, I mean that, we basically like, and the other big thing that we did was instead, like it took me a long time. Like, I don't know how, 2.5 years in, like this identity technology could also be used to expand abandoned cart audiences. So like the product before was just passing an email over. And when the same visitor came by again, it would do nothing.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Because we already So
You
like,
already have their email and
yeah. And like it had no way to tie the email address to some type of first party cookie that was like tracking the user and triggering events based upon their behavior. It was just a top of the funnel strategy where it's like, warm them up, put them in your newsletter, they will buy and keep buying. That was proven. It's like, oh shit, we could use this. There's this huge problem that most Shopify stores don't realize, where the only abandonment messaging that's being sent out, so like abandoned cart, abandoned product view, abandon whatever, like these people have to be logged into the merchant's website in order to activate that.
Yeah.
Wild. No one's logged in, right? It's either on the brand's list and they're on a different device, which is a lot of people, but even more people haven't even signed up in any way for the brand's list yet. So we could expand the audience of abandoned carts to both of those audiences, and it's like a 5x. I mean, it's just unbelievable how well it works, which took 2.5 years to figure out. But we figured that out at the same time that we figured out these big Shopify stores were our ICP. And then we basically chopped the price and made it an annual deal and like bundled all this stuff up together. And then it started just being this like absolute, like, I mean, it is like perfect product market fit. Like these people are beside themselves at how well it works. And it's like super fast sale. Like there's just nothing for them to hesitate about. So yeah, this is why I'm having so much fun, building this business, because it's this perfect moment for this product where we have like 2% penetration into this world, and it will work for every single one of them. Like there's no situation in which it doesn't work, and there's no alternative, which is the fucking beautiful part. So yeah, that's kind of the story of what it does and how we got here.
So just to like recap that and tell me if I'm wrong about everything, I go visit a website. I've never logged in before. I've never visited. Somehow you're capturing my email address.
It's unbelievable.
Is there any? Yeah, I would love to like, just if you can share any of the secrets.
Yeah, I can share everything. I share everything. I'm super transparent. I share our financials with everybody. Wow. So the questions everybody has, one of them is the one you're alluding to, is how does it work? But primarily it's like, well, how is that legal? And because it seems like it shouldn't be, but it is. And the reason is because in the US, and this is US only, can't do it in Europe, can't do it in Canada. We have our IPs ring fenced. Every email address has US postal address. In the US, the Can Spam Act of 2003, which was reviewed in 2019 and is staying. It's opt out and not opt in. That's just the law. Like we've never not made it through a legal department at a brand. Like like Warby Parker, like big company, everyone knows them. Like there is no legal problem there. They have a legal department. Trust me, right? Like there was a lot of back and forth. We make it through because it's legal. If a brand is big enough, like brands, the reason these plus stores are so great is because they're like, if it makes me money and it's easy to onboard and it's legal, I'll do it. If it makes me money, it's easy on board, and it's not legal, I'll contemplate it, right? It's a very different position than like, HelloFresh with $1 billion in revenue that's like like they won't do it because they're like, there's significant PR risk to me here that I want to be more polite than that. Like the Shopify Plus vendor is not very concerned with being polite about their marketing strategies if it will make them money. And another way that Cody from the VP marketing of Dr. Squash said, he's like, the way we thought about it, whether it would be damaging to our brand or not, is he's like, if you think about the amount of emails that are in people's inbox and what's in there and the amount that people actually signed up for, if you add one from us that was sent after what is actually an unbelievable amount of intent hitting a website, he's just like, we viewed it as something that was not going to bother the company, and B, if it, or the consumer, and B, if it did, you'd see it in the data. So we would just stop. So that was his attitude. So yeah, that's number one. And then the next question people say, they're like, okay, so it's US Can Spam compliant. What about this California stuff? I thought that was just like GDPR. So it's like, it is, except for it is also opt out. And by the way, depending on who the listeners are, it doesn't apply to people with under 25 million in revenue, which is just interesting. So how does it work? There are many networks. There are cookie pools. Like these are all foreign concepts, but like in ad tech, which is the anonymized banner ad world, right? There's like Facebook and Google, but there's like a bunch of open internet ad tech providers. A lot of ad tech, the persistent identifier that follows somebody across websites is an MD5 email hash. Interesting.
Okay.
So we look out for these MD5 email hashes in people's browsers, and we have a way to basically de-anonymize them. You're not supposed to be able to, but turns out if you have every email address that ever existed, then you can MD5 all of those and then just do like a VLOOKUP. And we have opt-ins through a co-reg network for every email that we provide people. It's not a legal necessity. We just do that because generally when a consumer asks, where did you get my email? And we send them an opt-in of where they opted into this network, they immediately are satisfied with that. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically how it works. And then the real magic of it is we clean these email addresses. We're purchasing signal data, opens and clicks from the rest of the email ecosystem. Like you can buy anonymized open and clicks. So like we only give people email addresses that have like opened and clicked elsewhere in the past like 24 hours, 7 days, depending on like other characteristics of the email address. So we basically reverse engineer like the hottest possible email addresses, and then pass them over to the brand. So yeah, it's an aggressive tactic. Like I'm not in any way trying to construe that it is not, but it is amazing in how effective it is.
And legal.
It's not actually, it's not actually like retention either. I just thought it was close enough to retention to like be retention.com is our name. I actually want to create a category called customer recapture that like, you know, embodies what we do. And there's a couple indirect competitors that do it too. I think it would be helpful for brands. I
like just wrote down on my notes here. It seems very acquisition focused. Why not acquisition.com instead of retention.com? Do you see use cases on the retention side, or did it just feel like this makes sense?
The name?
Yeah. Like, do you
like so the way I looked at it is like there's retention as e-commerce people talk about retention, but like then there's also just like it is retaining people who are it's retaining website and funnel leakage, right? Like it's not loyalty, rewards, reviews, like whatever, like the yacht post suite, if you want to call it that. But it is in some way retention, and I could get the domain, and it's so much authority. Like so put it this way, I didn't think that there was a better name that I could get that would more accurately describe it and have so much authority. You know, Alex Hormozi owns acquisition.com. Even if he didn't, I'm not sure that for what we do, acquisition.com is more descriptive than retention.com because it's like right in the middle, you know?
Yep. Totally hear you. So,
which is why I think the category of customer recapture is like, okay, you know, it's better than retention, but the name is incredible, by the way. I mean, it just opened
like
so many doors.
Word in e-commerce right now.
Yeah, totally. Which is also one of the reasons I bought it. It was $800,000. It wasn't cheap.
Wow.
But worth it so far, would you say?
Oh my God. Yeah. Because I mean, in a way that is like I wish I wrote down these examples, but you kind of can't. It's like people are coming to like, it's just part of the story, and it's such a huge part. And like people are like this fire we're creating in the ecosystem is like, I think it's got a lot to do of how easily we're able to stoke it, because somebody hears it and they're just like, well, why don't I know what they do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Like it with get emails, it's like, man, I liked it because it was like very provocative, being a consumer email product. Like you're not supposed to be doing that. Super descriptive. You can't mess it up when you type it in. You know, you can't pronounce it the wrong way, right? My first business was called Robly, R-O-B-L-Y, which like actually this guy who I'm seeing later today, I picked it because of him. He was like the Vimeo guy. He's like short is better than descriptive, which I don't agree with anymore.
Interesting. Yeah. Tell
So
them
it was a short name that was a contraction of the founders' last names, Robinson, Blahnik, and Murphy. So it was like a 5-letter word that didn't mean nothing. The problem is, like, we were like growing that business with phone sales, and it was like Robley, spelled R-O-B-L-Y. You know what I mean? It's not a word. So people would hear it and they're like, what? You know? So I like hated that name. And then Get Emails was like, I just loved how direct it was, you know?
Swing the opposite way completely.
Yeah, totally. Sure. And it was just amazing. You couldn't fuck it up. You couldn't, like, it's like I would describe what we do, and they're like, what's your brand called? I'm like, get this, Get Emails.
Yeah.
You know?
Incredible.
And then like just having, so I don't think that you should buy a huge domain like this until your product is literally fire. Like, like people are telling you, like, dude, like this could be a unicorn. Like, then you get something like this and it just accelerates it. I think it's actually a hindrance in the early stage because it will send false signal about getting there to like the best product. That's my 2 cents there. But like, dude, worth every penny. It is such an accelerant for the journey that we're on.
That's awesome. I mean, even for us, it's like, no brainer to have retention.com on our podcast, because we talk about retention all the time. The podcast is called Retention Chronicles. Like I said, it's like the hottest thing in e-commerce right now. And there's a whole idea of like retention being a bigger focus even than acquisition now. And this might be the first time in history that that's a thing. So I think that the way that you spin retention to talk about what you're solving for makes a lot of sense as well. So going back to like the full value prop, once you've captured that email address, like what happens? Are you automatically triggering any messaging, or, are you capturing events that then can be used to trigger out of Klaviyo? Like, walk me through the full life cycle post email capture.
Both. So if you want to think about the product as 2 different parts, like the first part is the Get Emails part, which is just like an anonymous visitor hits your site, top of funnel, right? They leave, they don't fill out a form. We give an email we literally pass that to Klaviyo. We tell the customers, copy your welcome series, change the subject line to thanks for stopping by the site. If they engage with one of the 3 emails or whatever, put them in your newsletter. If they don't, unsubscribe them. Literally, don't ever contact them again. Like, hard to unsubscribe. And then on the bottom of funnel stuff, literally, it's just like we have a script that you put next to your Klaviyo abandoned cart, abandoned product scripts, and you just run all the events through us and fork the Klaviyo cart flow to, this is what was the old side and our side, basically. And you send all the events in, and it's like, well, if it's not in the other fork, send it. If it is in the other fork, don't send it. So it makes it really easy just to see the incremental that like we're driving.
Yeah. Okay.
But we do no messaging in summary. Like we just, in the first case, we send the record, which triggers a flow. In the second case, we send an event with the record, which triggers the flow.
Got it. Okay. And then Klaviyo obviously is probably a huge tech partner of yours. Are there any other like retention, e-commerce retention stack products or apps that fit really well in terms of a joint value prop?
Yeah. So the email apps that e-com stores use are the most. I mean, there's one dominant one in this part of the market, which is Klaviyo. There's 5 ones competing for share immediately above it. So it's like Iterable, Braze, Salesforce, or Sale Through, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and like whatever, and Marsis.
And are you also integrated with those just to?
Yeah, we have integrations. We decided that, so there's also other vendors that do kind of similar things. Like, they're not quite as aggressive as we are. They're a little more full service. So it's not comparable offering. Like, you would either pick them or pick us. Bigger companies have reasons to pick them. And they can't actually service the part of the market that we're selling into profitably, just because of how they run their business and what their product does. So like, there's this white space for us to go after in the Shopify world, and that's just Shopify Klaviyo. we have integrations to the other stuff, but we're not really focused on it. But like iterable customer shows up at our door, we're like overjoyed. Obviously, you know, it's like, oh, that's a freebie. We're just not, the sales gun's not pointed at that for now. The thing I'm encouraged by is I actually think Klaviyo and Shopify are way better companies than any of these other companies. I mean, how wouldn't you? Klaviyo created a monopoly, literally. Yeah. Like, so did Shopify, and they both want to go up market. So like Shopify is growing Shopify Plus faster than we are growing our company. That makes sense.
Yeah.
They are at it. You know what I mean? They are proactively bringing on vendors from Magento or whatever faster than we are penetrating our way into
through their existing base. Yeah. Wow. That's an awesome metric. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like the best backdrop ever. It's like, and Klaviyo wants to do the same thing. They created a CDP. I don't know how they may actually just turn it off and like further develop their core app into a CDP, but like they are the best email marketing company. No question about it. There might have been an argument between them and MailChimp, but MailChimp got bought by Intuit, and that's not what they are anymore. Like they're something different. Like Klaviyo is the best in the world at anything anywhere close to this, right? Like it's laughable that Attentive is attempting to compete in e-commerce email. Email is so fucking hard. I think it's way harder than SMS. So the email side of it's the most natural. There's this use case for SMS that is very natural as well. So when I was describing the abandoned cart flows, there's two audiences of people that we're expanding the audience to. One is the people they are not opted into the brand's list yet. They're opted into Arco Reg. You can't send an SMS to those people. However, the other audience, which is sort of equal in ROI that it drives, is someone who's on their list but on a different device. And we can trigger SMS flows to those people if the brand has the number double opted in.
Interesting.
So we have an integration with Attentive and Postscript and, you know, SMS Bump and like all those people. Yeah. And it's really great. I mean, the SMS vendors love it because SMS flows are where all the money comes in. It's the least invasive type of SMSing. It's least dangerous, like whatever. And the brand loves it because it's just money that you point to. We love it because it allows us to have tech partnerships with people, and they'll send us leads. So it's like a perfect, oftentimes it's not such a serendipitous relationship between vendors. It's like really one-sided, you know? Yeah. But that's a great one.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, it'll be interesting real quick on the Attentive Klaviyo thing. So we're gonna build an Attentive email integration at some point this year. And we've heard mixed things, honestly. Like we haven't heard anything super negative about Attentive email. Most people that we know have switched over are happy, but there's been a ton of feedback around like, why would I switch off of Klaviyo email? Like those people will be, you know, then have a choice. Do I want to stay on Attentive SMS or move over? And I think they're both sort of building, you know, directly competing products. And it'll be really interesting to see, can Klaviyo build as good of an SMS platform, and can Attentive build as good of an email platform? And can there be consolidation, or are brands okay with having two vendors for those two things?
Yeah. It's the streaming wars, you know?
Yeah, right. Totally.
Like, that's what it is. And to be fair to Attentive, they acquired Privy. Yeah. And I think it was just so they could get Ben Jacoby, because he's done it. I mean, that guy knows how to create an email app the right way. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. But like Klaviyo is just, there's also this thing in marketing that I've read where it's like, if you get above 60% of a market, then you basically enjoy monopolistic rents in a way. And the way is like, people, in order to compete with that above 60% market share, they would have to outspend you by 3-1.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Just to
it's just like kind of a rule. It's like once you kind of own 2/3 and you're everywhere, and like everybody just accepts you as like Coca-Cola or whatever, it's very hard to compete with that. So that's what Attentive's up against.
Right.
They certainly don't have that in SMS in the way that Klaviyo has it in email, right? So it's kind of like everything Klaviyo does has that dynamic. I'm not saying they'll be able to compete in SMS, whatever, but for email, like they own it. I mean, in any given point, 20% of the users of any app are upset for some reason, but like they're in an incredible position. I don't know. I have so much respect for those guys.
Yeah. Okay. So Mariah, you step in here if you're thinking of any like combined use cases with retention.com. I can't really think of any because we are so focused on like post-purchase. So I can't think of any top of head, but can you? Or, obviously.
I was thinking through, like, I think with us directly, probably not, but like all of our partners, like we're talking about, like I'm thinking through the abandoned cart use case, and how that then like would be interesting to see if you send those people, like they become customers, and then if they had like a customized order tracking page, like how would that differentiate between like the other segment that you were talking about, Adam, of someone of like your the list that a merchant would have that isn't from you all. Like I'm more curious about what that would eventually look like. Is that like higher intent for us, where the customized tracking page would then lead to higher repeat purchase rates or something along those lines, because they have such a high intent. Like that's where my mind is going for use cases of seeing, like, I wonder how it's like what's the metaphor, the analogy of like you just pour fuel on the fire. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Because it's all super, super interesting. And I'm like, yeah, it's just amazing that you were able to backtrack and like figure that all out.
It was a long and winding road. I mean, literally from the second that I heard about it, it was 18 months until I figured out how it could be done. Mm-hmm. And actually my co-founder of this business, Diana Ross, I have two of them, but she's one of them. She started consulting for us on something else. And the first time I ever spoke to her, I was like, so what I'm really trying to do is figure out this identity shit. Cause like, I think if I can sell it to anybody. And then we tried something, it didn't work. And then like this, like, it's ended up working.
Good problem to have, I think, in the long run. Do you any ideas for joint use cases or value props? I really am kind of at a loss on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, co-marketing, maybe like doing physical events that we sponsor for each other.
Yeah.
Like that. That's like as beautiful of a thing as sort of the use case. Just like we have these audiences. Let's like
100%.
Share the cost of these community events.
Yeah.
Are you all going to Shop Talk? I feel like I saw somewhere.
Yeah, we're sponsoring 3 different kind of smaller events and have a big booth. And I'm going on Monday for 24 hours.
Okay. 24 hours.
Yeah, I just, I've been traveling a lot. It's
yes, I agree with you on that. Like I run partnerships, and like my general philosophy is like, even if we had the most golden use case, we should actually start with co-marketing first, just to see like, how do our ICPs align? Can we tell like a good mutual joint story even without the integration or joint value prop, and then sort of just feed off each other's, networks from there. And if we end up building something, some sort of combined solution, that's almost like the secondary concept,
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep that conversation going. We're coming to time pretty soon, but tell us, outside of identity resolution, what should brands be focused on in 2023 in the Shopify ecosystem?
I mean, so I come from the world of email.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised when people haven't set up a product view abandonment flow in Klaviyo. And that's for anybody. Just don't even have to be a certain size. It's just such low-hanging fruit and so easy to do.
You said product view abandonment flow, not.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's the add to cart abandonment, but then there's also just that they hit the product page and leave. Like Klaviyo has a very easy script deployment and flow setup to nurture those people with the product that they were looking at in the email. Very easy to set up. You just send an event over. That is like number one. And like a lot of people are not doing that. That is like number one, rec. And then number two, I'm still surprised at the amount of brands that are reluctant to use SMS in general. And that would be another thing that I would recommend. If you're not doing it, figure out how to capture the numbers. If someone gives you their phone number, you are not, in some ways it's much easier than email. You only have to write a sentence, right? Like
I have to do design
be casual in your voice, but like you will just be, I mean, it's a 90% open rate or whatever. Like it just works.
Yeah.
So
that's good because Mariah, I don't know. I've never heard like product view abandonment be said. It makes total sense. And I'm sure like brands are doing it, but to your point, Adam, not enough are doing it.
Right.
So that's fascinating. And what are you saying that's out of the box with Klaviyo? I'm just surprised.
Yeah, it's just a really easy install, know, like they don't force you to install it when you create the account. They force you to install a checkout abandonment, but they call it cart abandonment.
I see. Yeah.
Which is confusing. So then small brands stop there. Larger brands generally at least set up an add to cart abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
And then far fewer set up the product view abandonment. But you do it in the same way that you set up the add to cart. It's just you put a script in and you set the flow up and whatever.
I have not heard that use case before, even just in being Klaviyo and looking through it, like not a ton. I haven't seen it. And even speaking with like our merchants as well, abandoned cart sometimes comes up, but not product view abandonment. I will also say go ahead, Adam.
No, go ahead. I was just saying everybody should do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially because one of the things that I'm sure we all can agree on this call is like, if it is something that maybe would be more unique to like the consumer point of view, like that's just another way how you stand out as a brand, right? Like, oh, they really know their stuff, or like they really know what I want. You're paying attention to that customer behavior. Like it always helps, right? But I was gonna ask and say, like, if someone comes to you and says, I'm hesitant to roll out SMS, like how do you kind of calm those nerves? Because on the brand side of this podcast, I've heard like both I've heard people in both camps where it's like, I don't want to do it, I'm fully for it. What's your argument behind why you think everyone could and should have SMS?
I mean, to me, it's all about like, if people don't want you to text them, they won't give you their number. If they're giving you their number, like, I'm not saying text them every day, like create an abandoned cart SMS flow. Like it will be the greatest thing that you've ever done for yourself. The ROI on that stuff is unbelievable. Same thing with product. Like Attentive makes it easy. Klaviyo probably does too. All these other SMS apps do as well. Like it's just incredible how effective it is. And like you can be more casual with your language if that's what you're worried about, right? With your brand voice, if you want, but if you don't do it right now, like at least get yourself in a position to do it like next quarter. Like spend 3 months internalizing this idea that if someone gives you their phone number, they're fine with you texting them.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand the argument against it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because like they just wouldn't give you the number if they didn't want you texting them.
Yeah. With the caveat, if they give you the number, there is no argument. Other than bandwidth, maybe like we don't have the time to do that. But okay,
but by the way, like it's just a setup. It's like, and you don't have to start. You don't have to start regularly sending texts to people or whatever. Like you can just set up a cart abandonment flow, and collect numbers in a couple spots on your site. And that's it. It's set up.
Right. Product view abandonment, love that. Brands should do SMS. Mariah and I 100% agree. We will let you get on the lake, but first tell us one tip or trick or two that's helped you throughout your super impressive career so far.
The biggest thing is just continuing to throw spaghetti against the wall.
Mm.
And like, I mean, like, I'll tell the abbreviated version. I share an office with the guys who started Jasper AI.
Okay.
Wow.
They started that company 2 years ago. I've been sharing an office with them for 4 years. Before they started Jasper AI, they were more stuck than I was. It was crazy. Like, I have texts from December of the year of 2.5 years ago, which is what it was. And these guys were totally fucked. They were out of money. They were going to sell their business for $2 million and start a restaurant.
Wow.
And at the time, my business, Get Emails, was at $267,000 a month, monthly recurring revenue. And that was the high watermark. This is from Dave Rogenmoser, the CEO of Jasper AI. It's first paying customer. It's for $100. Had the idea 7 days ago. It says, hopefully this is my Get Emails.
Wow. Wow.
Right. So like, I sat there and watched them over 14 months create a unicorn. They raised $200 million at a $1.5 billion valuation. The founders sold a lot of secondary, and the whole process of it caused me to totally re-examine what we were doing. I was like, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. Cause like, they did it kind of bootstrapped, but they were plowing back in all of the profit back into Facebook ads. And they were spending like $2 million a month on Facebook when they had 50 million in revenue. I had gotten to I had gotten to 8 with one salesperson who was paying like 30 or 35 grand a month. So I was like, what if I could spend $1 million a month on salespeople? What would that look like? How do I do that? You know, like what would be worthy product wise of actually doing that? Right. So just watching that and being such close peers and stuck. So like, if I heard a podcast about this, I wouldn't think it would have applied to me. But I sat there 20 feet away from these guys. So like, you know that you're the same as them when you're in the same room, right? Like, it's not like, oh, they're lucky. Like, these guys just fucking tried something, you know, and it like worked, you know? So, yeah. And then now as a result of that, like, I'm going for it, and I don't see how it doesn't pan out. I mean, I don't think everybody's in that position, but like, I can literally get a spreadsheet and like map the path to like 200 million ARR or something just based upon what we're doing. And that was just a different, you know, and I have been a different version of stuck so many times. And, you know, but I always kind of loved the game, you know, like, even though it's hard to be stuck. And I loved being a student of the game and like learning, sort of, you know, being inspired by what other people were doing and trying to figure out how to do things better and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think when you throw spaghetti against the wall, it's not like these guys got a lotto ticket and won it. They accrued lotto tickets by trying shit. Like, Proof was their last business. It worked okay. They tried 2 things that didn't work. The third thing they tried was worth $1 billion.
Very sticky
My
spaghetti.
thing, my thing was like, I tried the first one, it worked okay. I made 2 huge swings at something, didn't work. My third one worked pretty well. And then it turned into this thing that, you know, check back in a year, see where we're at. You know, so yeah, that's what I think you got to do.
That's
Just
awesome. That's good advice. We haven't heard that one before. I think the other thing that came out from the story you told is like, surround yourself with inspiring people who are, you know.
Yeah, man. Like, it's so it is very interesting that how powerful that is.
Yeah.
You know, like, I did it for him. I'm like, no, don't start a restaurant. Like, if you have a couple, like, cause I had 2 profitable SaaS businesses at that point, and me and my founders were all making $1 million. I'm like, this is great. You know, like, maybe we start one more, make $1.5 million each. That'd be awesome. You know, like a couple more, we're rich. Right. And I had Dave sold on this idea, and he's like, totally. Yeah, man, whatever. And then just like, he's like, no, man, you can play way bigger, you know? So yeah, it's really important, I think. But at the same time, it's like, I didn't that just happened. It was like good fortune that happened to those guys. Like, I loved being around Dave because I thought it was really good for both of us to try to like, and I think he feels the same way, which is why I'm still here. But like, it wasn't like I from day one was like, oh, I need to get an office with like, the Klaviyo founder.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
It
anyway,
just happens like circumstance.
Yeah. That was dumb luck, but it's super important. Your point is not lost. Like, it is the most important thing. I think like Naval said this, it's like, if you want to be happy, hang around people if you want to be successful, hang around people more successful than you. If you want to be happy, hang around people less successful than you.
Love that. Cool, man. I know we're at time and you got places to be, so we'll let you go. But this was a really unique episode. Like I said at the top, did not disappoint. Thanks so much for joining us. And Mariah and I both will be in Vegas, so we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll meet up. Take care, guys. Thanks for having me.